The young pilot starting out, especially with a fresh float rating, you're coming on with basically a license to learn. I've got over 4,000 hours now, and I'm still learning.
Flying becomes a routine. There is a lack of attention, and that can lead to an accident in bad weather or because of a heavy flight schedule.
Local knowledge can't be overstressed.
You have to stay with it, and it takes a long time to learn. I don't think you can't learn it overnight. You can't learn it out of a book.
Obviously, seaplane flying is not a practice to be taken lightly.
First 100 hours are dangerous, and then the next 900 are dangerous. When they figure they got 100 hours under their belt, they got it. You don't just get too cocky, too confident.
What is my goal with becoming a pilot? You can say yes to more flying. You know, if you have that skill, then you can't say, oh, I can't do that. I keep flying because it keeps, every time you fly, you get a little better at it. So ideally, you're getting safer. In any sport or hobby, the more variety you can get, the better. When you're learning to drive, you don't just want to drive around your neighborhood 1,000 times. You know, I want to have enough tools in my flying toolbox so I can go there and do that. Or if my friends want to go on an adventure, I want to be able to be like, sure, I can help make that happen. I can fly you in your kayak, or you in your hunting supplies, or pick up you with all your fish you just caught. Like, I want to be able to do all those things, and each one involves a different kind of airplane and a different kind of flying. My name's Neil Amonson. I'm in Alaska learning to fly float planes.
Okay, you ready? Yep, clear your prop.
Some people, you know, ever since they were a little kid wanted to learn to fly, and some people just, you know, they don't get the bug till later in life. But for me, it was like 18, 19 years old, and I learned how to do static line jump.
He's ready now and equipped with a helmet to guard his face from snapping rope lines and high boots to break the landing shock. Hook static lines.
Plane flying by, and just like hundreds of little dots are jumping out, and their parachutes open, and they drift to the ground in a big cluster. It's the first thing I learned, which I didn't love because you can't steer them and you can't flare them. Flaring is like a thing you do to land softer, so you just like pile in like a bag of dog food. It sucks. So after that, I learned how to I went to Halo School, where you learn, it's called military freefall, which I liked that. That's very much like civilian skydiving. You're up super high, you're in free fall, you open a parachute, it's steerable, you pick where you're gonna wanna land, you land on your feet nice and soft. Love that. That kind of took over my life. It's still basically taken over my life. But that was really the gateway to, you know, flying sports. So when I got out of the military, because I like to skydive, I picked up base jumping.
3, 2, 1, see ya.
Which then also led me to wingsuiting. So next thing I know, I've finished my 4 years in the Air Force. I moved to Utah because there you got it all. You got paragliding, speed flying, base jumping, wingsuits, skydiving, all of it. And I've been there for about 12 years. So basically just playing in the air. Once I got to Utah, I started paragliding, started speed flying, which is like a really small paraglider that you do use with skis and go downhill really fast. And just, 10 years go by real quick when you're trying to juggle, you know, all those different sports, trying to stay safe, trying to stay proficient, trying to keep learning and getting better. I never really thought about being a pilot, which is funny because I was around planes so much. But one day I was in Oregon and I was like, man, I'm far. I was like 5 hours drive from Portland, like 16 hours from Utah. And I just was like, I want to be able to come here more often. And it just occurred to me, like, wow, what if I had a plane? I could fly here. So when I got back to Utah, I went to the local flight school and did an intro flight. And 30 minutes later, I knew I was learning to fly airplanes. In some ways, it was like starting something new, but in other ways, it was like just adding to my history. It just felt right. So I've been full speed ahead ever since. And this is just another part of that story. If you want to decide if you want to go to Moose Pass, just Google Moose Pass, Alaska, and look at the pictures, and you'll know within 2 seconds whether you should go there or not. You know, the green trees and gray rock combined with this like amazing blue water. go off another finger, there's another one. Lakes are staggered at all different elevations. You know, there's glaciers. Like right now everything's green and warm. Well, a 10-minute flight away and you'll be flying over where all you can see is snow, you know, with big blue icebergs down at the bottom of it in the water. And then another 10 minutes later, you're flying, all you can see is pine trees, like lush pine trees with waterfalls coming down the mountain and like bear grabbing fish out of the stream. So it's really diverse. And the seaplanes just add this like extra element where it's like almost surreal. For most pilots, the idea of coming up to Alaska is it's kind of like a romantic idea. You know, it's the most picturesque place. And I think even if you've been in the mountains before, it's still, especially when you're it's like a flying boat. I know we're talking about seaplanes, we know what they are, but until you see them at the dock and then get in it and just start, you know, chugging away on the water and then take off, it's really, it's even more fun than I imagined, and I had pretty high expectations. Your mind gets like a little more accustomed to having to think about complex landing situations, which is really cool. And you get that. And visually, making turns in these canyons are things you can't replicate. And even if you've done a lot of flying, until you've come up here and flew, you know, you just don't know what it's going to be like. When we decided to come up here, you know, the first person you're probably going to talk to when you call on the phone is Vern. And he's quite the character.
And if you mention plasma, I'm going to throw you out of the room.
No, I'm not talking.
Oh, good, because we want. You don't ask simple questions, do you? The only thing I want is no. We're going to keep this simple.
Okay.
We don't want a dialogue here. No, there's no limitations on Carver. Why are you smiling?
He's got a lot of character, and I like people like that.
My name is Vern Kingsford, and I started here in Moose Pass 25 years ago, and I started this flight school in Moose Pass with a reason to give pilots an opportunity to experience actual and real mountain flying and bush flying.
And we want to give you the best value and truly teach you how to fly the floats here. We don't want to just send you through the rating and say, okay, here's your certificate. We want our students to be able to leave here and go fly a seaplane on their own. That's our goal.
Another aspect aside from the location is the guy running the operation, Vern. I can read a book. Like, I don't have to pay a guy to tell me what the book says, but I'd rather pay a guy who's made all the mistakes, had all these experiences, and, you know, tell me firsthand, yeah, you don't want to do this or you want to do this because of this one time that I either messed up or I happened to do it correctly, you know. So it's just that valuable practical experience that he's got really makes it valuable coming out here and learning from him.
My philosophy as an instructor is that I want to be well prepared and I want the student well prepared. And because of the way I cut through the BS, so to speak, it tries to eliminate. My instructors are taught to demonstrate how good a student can be with the proper practice.
So the lessons were, you know, they went really smoothly. Of course, for me, like, as we're, you know, working towards a check ride where you're supposed to take an FAA examiner up and show them that you know what you're doing, I always feel like I need 3 times more time than I have, but everyone kind of goes through the same feelings. You never feel like you're completely ready. Maybe it's like marriage, I've heard. You gotta go for it. And he's just got some great instructors. They're really skillful and proficient, but they're really humble, and they have a really good syllabus. One of the things I really like about flying in general, and specifically float flying, is that it really connects you with the elements. And there's this thunderstorm out of nowhere. We tried to, well, actually we didn't know it was a thunderstorm. It just looked kind of like hazy, and it just got really quickly worse.
This bad weather right here, you go around the corner, it's nice and sunny. Welcome to the mountains.
It was getting wet. Water was getting inside the plane, but we were both getting soaking wet.
Inside?
Inside the plane. So it's kind of fun that the weather here is like changes by the minute. It's also each part of this lake, the wind is coming from a different direction. So it's really fun because you never know exactly what's going to happen, even when you think you know what's going to happen based off of all your other experience. Well, it's different here. And it's not about what you want to do that day, it's what can you do. And you have to look around and like have a conversation with Mother Nature. Those conversations are always fun. You know, firstly, as a pilot, you want to know what the wind is doing. You look around, okay, is it too windy? How's it affecting the water? Is there a current? Is there anything in the water I need to watch out for? And just from that point forward, it's a dialogue back and forth between what you want to do and what you can do, what you want to do and what you can do. And that's a conversation you're having with yourself, with the plane, and like with the elements. You know, it makes you appreciative that you can go out in nature, and it also empowers you because you're in an airplane that lets you do things that as a human being you can't just do. You know, you're not just saying, oh, it's gonna rain, I'll put on my raincoat. You can't just get carried away and thinking I can do whatever I want. Like, you know, there's hard lessons to be learned here. The biggest things I've noticed since getting into the pilot training is the amount of attention they put into, like, you know, they call it hazardous attitudes. The different mindsets you can get in that will make you unsafe. If you're not crashing planes and you're still alive and you're old, you're cool. You know, they say there's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's not old, bold pilots. There's no saying like that in skydiving or base jumping, you know, because it's cool to be bold. It's your responsibility as you get older to try and prevent young people from making some of the mistakes you made. I feel really lucky. I'm still healthy and not dead after, you know, 10 years of base jumping, you know, almost every day. And aviation for me is like, it's like an out. It's like I take all those things I liked about base jumping and I can do it in an environment that's more likely going to keep me safe, and I can also make a living doing it. And that I think is awesome. And it's cool. And you can share it with people. Like, I don't expect my mom to want to go skydive with me, but I'm sure she'd get in an airplane with me. And that's awesome. You know, it's another way to share your passion or hobbies with other people. It's another way to give someone an experience, see the world from a way they've never seen it before. You're taking them out of their day-to-day life and showing them the world from a different angle. And that angle is usually an angle that people get real excited about. They realize, man, where I live is really pretty. You see the earth from above. It just puts your mind in this like really appreciative state, which is great. You know, it's good, it feeds your soul. So it's just another, you know, fun way to go on an adventure in a bigger way, you know, a bigger way than you can do without one. They're an amazing toy and they're an amazing tool, which I think is great. Anytime you can put those things together, it's a winning combination, and airplanes are definitely that.
Well, you know, why do I breathe? Why do I eat? It's, you know, so many of us grow up, and from my earliest memories, I wanted to fly airplanes. You know, I mean, you really are above things. You know, I mean, you go flying, you look down at what the rest of the world is doing. It's a passion. It's a lust. I mean, it's just great. You know, some people like motorcycles, some people like speedboats. I like flying. I like flying on floats. I have a speedboat that flies, you know. No, flying is just wonderful.